Let's talk some options trading 101, and in particular, a very common question, a very good question, a very wise question. Hey, how much money do you need to trade options? And that's what I'm going to talk about here, because it is a more than valid logistical question. Hey, I want to make some money in the markets. I've heard about options, but I mean, how much money is going to be required? Is it going to be worth my time? Am I going to be able to get any sort of respectable return on my capital? Again, all very good questions, all questions that show you're actually thinking. You're not just going out there randomly doing things, which is always a good start. And those are all going to be the questions that I'm going to answer here first. Now, before we can get to that, and I should also note that I'm not going to sit here and talk theory the whole time. I'm going to show you some of my personal results and numbers so you can see how these numbers play out in the real world. That way, it's not like you're reading a textbook where you got to kind of, okay, well, I get it. That's how it's supposed to work. And that's how that person thinks that they heard that it works. So they wrote it in the pages of a book. Nothing like that. Like I said, I'm going to use some of my real life exalts, and that will help walk us through the math. And then we'll do some calculations just so, again, because I want to make sure to answer those questions. Is it even going to be worth my time if I use that amount of money? Is it going to be, if I'm looking for certain percentage returns, will it be worth it? And we'll get to all of that. Like I said, no theory with some actual examples. But to set the context here, this is how you're going to, calculate the amount of money that's going to be needed. And on that note, you could even do less than what you'll see in this video. Now, in this video, it's not a huge amount at all. But it's also, I want you to know that, the way things work is you can, even make the requirements less than what you're about to see here. But I think you'll be pretty kind of like, wait, what? Whoa, that's cool. That would be worth my time with even the amounts that you see here. But the way you go about it, and this also goes to show that, options trading is not nearly as complicated as what it seems to be. When I was a beginner, when I was new, I was so scared of options. I'm like, options, that's way too complicated. And it's really not. And, when you see this math right here on the screen, it's truly not that bad. So in order to calculate how much money you would actually need, all you're going to do is look at the contract price, because in options, you don't trade a stock, you trade a contract. And then you're going to multiply that by 100. And then you're going to multiply that number by the number of contracts that you want to buy. It's truly, truly that easy. What is the contract price? So what is the price, right? We look at prices all day long. So what is the price? Whatever that price is, multiply by 100. How many do you want to buy? Okay, well then multiply it by that number. It's truly as easy as that. So here we are looking at some of my real life results that, at least as of the recording of this video, were relatively recently, but it doesn't matter. Even if you're watching this video 10 years from now, options pricing is options pricing, so nothing has changed in that regard. But let's just hop right into it. And like I said, just took a screenshot from my broker. And the key dynamic here is right now, let's just look at I'm buying, right? So what I'm buying, I probably should have, that makes it look so complicated. It's not, okay? Just picture that as Tesla, right? So I'm buying Tesla, and here's the cool thing about options is as of right now, or when I was making that trade, Tesla was like $600 per share. Per share, that's crazy. But it'll be amazing once you see how I got involved with way less than what you would normally need if you wanted to trade actual, Tesla stock. But here the key dynamic is this. 2. Why is that important? Well, that's the number of contracts that I bought. So think back to that, the math we just went over. That's part of the equation, even though it's a very basic equation. 2, we're going to need that because that's how many I bought. Now, what's the other part of the equation? Okay, Clay, well, you got to know the price. Exactly. So right here, the price. I bought 2 for $8.40. So let's do this real quick. All right, well, we said in the math that $8.40 was part of it because that was the contract price. And then a little quiz question. What do I have to multiply this by? Did you say 100? Good job. Absolutely. Multiply that by 100. And then to finish out the quiz, what do I have to multiply that by? Well, Clay, the number of contracts that you want to buy. Exactly. Which is what? Which is, well, 2. So just because I want to just show you what it is. So let's see. $8.40 for a contract. Got to multiply that by 100. So that equals 840. So for one contract, you could get involved with Tesla for $840 at this price. And like I said, I'm not going to go down to that rabbit hole of, well, there's a bunch of different strike prices. But just understand, like I said, this number could be even lower if you wanted it or needed it to be. But in this situation, we're kind of barred by the fact of we're not talking in theory anymore. We're talking about a real life example. So we got to go with these numbers here. But just understand, like I said, they could be lower. So 840 is for one contract. But again, over here, I bought 2. So what do we have to do? We'll multiply that times 2 equals there. So $1,680. Now, I get it. Money does not grow on trees. But when you consider dynamics of the market, even if have you heard of the pattern day trading rule where you need $25,000? I mean, that number is way less than $25,000. And I realize I'm repeating myself, but I want to really hammer home. If it needs to be, that number there could be less. One quick example of, well, Clay, how would you make that less? Well, let's just come over here and make that maybe just buy one contract. And then all of a sudden that would cut that down back to $840. And there's other ways that you could make it less. But like I said, that's just a very simple way right there. All right, well, just don't buy as many contracts. And there you go. But $1,680. So, I mean, the question becomes, well, do you have $2,000 in your account? If you're answering, yes, I have in my account, or I have access to $2,000, or I would have $2,000, well, then you could totally have taken advantage and done this exact same trade that I did. So how did the trade actually work out? Well, you can see, and I'm not going to go through all this math, but when I went and sold, so I bought at $840 as we went through. I sold one contract at $9.45, which is good. When you're selling for more than you're buying, that's good. And then I sold another contract for $9.90. So that came out and equated to a $255 profit. Okay. Well, okay, I understand that, Clay, but there's still, that's great. But I mean, I don't know if $255 is really worth it. Did that take you like a month to get, 2 months to get, a day to get, a week to get, a couple years to get? Which again, you're thinking, fantastic, good. I mean, is it actually going to be worth your time to make that, $255? And right over here in this column, execution time, you can see that I bought at, it's very precise, but essentially 9:34 a.m. in the morning is when I bought. And then, yes, you're seeing this right, I was selling at basically 9:35 very, very soon thereafter. So just to keep it easy, let's just call this 5 minutes. I mean, it was actually less than 5 minutes, but it is what it is. So yes, that money was made in 5 minutes. Now, I still don't know if that's worth your time. I mean, I'll put it this way. If you're like, nah, Clay, $255 in 5 minutes is not worth my time. First off, that's awesome. Like, what do you do though? I would love to just converse with you. I'm not jealous at all. I'm happy for you. I'm inspired by you. But I mean, what in the world do you do where you can sit there and be like, nah, 5 minutes, $255, not worth my time? Awesome. Congratulations. Let's talk, because I'm very curious. I'm inspired by you. But if you're like, well, no, that I'm like you, Clay, like $255 would certainly be worth 5 minutes of my time. It would be worth 10 minutes of my time, 15 minutes. I mean, I don't know what the minimum wage is, but I mean, even if that took you an hour to make, $255 in 1 hour, that's crazy. Okay, well, there you go. This is the power of options. This is, how it can lead to. But maybe you're saying, well, Clay, yeah, time's fine, but like, what was the actual return on capital? Well, again, for that, if I made the $255, let me make sure that it's actually, all right, I want to make sure I'm not covering up. There we go. So to do this, if you made $255 and then the cost was, what was that, $1,680, then let's multiply that by 100 to just convert it over to a percentage. I mean, that's 15.2% return on your money in 5 minutes. But even let's just call it a day. Okay, I don't know. And again, I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that's the math that you need to consider for yourself. I mean, is a 15% return on your capital in 1 day, is that something that you feel as though it would be worth pursuing more or not? And of course, it could be larger. And yes, of course, it could be smaller. And yes, of course, you could lose money, right? This is the markets. So I'm not sitting here and saying that this is like some sort of bank CD where you're going to automatically make money. Hopefully you know that by now. But if you don't, hey, the markets are, there are no guarantees. You could lose money, which is why a bajillion videos on my channel are about risk management and how to control risk and all that. But again, yeah, the potential is also there. So you got to talk about the good stuff every now and then too, which is you can make money, you can grow money, and I don't know. To me, that's a good return on your capital. But that is how much money you would need to potentially use to trade options. Is in this situation, $1,680 to be exact. But going back to more of the theory world, yes, in theory, you could definitely reduce that amount. And in this situation, you saw how that could have done with just reducing the contract price, or excuse me, the number of contracts bought. But you could also find out, cheaper contracts. So for example, if you didn't like the, $8.40 mark. You could go down there and find contracts out there that are, a dollar, right? So just a quick math that just really, okay, so if a contract price is $1, what do you got to multiply by? Hopefully you're saying 100, Clay. We get it. Good. See, I told you options are not hard. And then if you want to buy 5 contracts, there you go. You would need $500 in that situation. So like I said, that exists, but given the constraints of this real life example, it is what it is. But there you go. So at the core, how much money do you need to trade options? Not very much. And like I said, when you stop and think about the fact that I was getting involved with Tesla, a $600 stock for $1,680. It's like, wait, is this real? Is this too good to be true? No, it's not too good to be true. But again, like anything, if you're crossing a busy road and you don't have a strategy, that's a very, very dangerous spot to be in. And options trading is no different. If you throw yourself into this market with no true strategy, with no true way to go about things, then that's the equivalent of crossing a busy road without having a strategy, which is, that's kind of crazy. But the potential is there for those that put in the time and effort to learn a strategy, build a strategy that best fits them. But by no means do you need $25,000. Again, that number coming from the pattern day trading rule. But by no means do you need hundreds of thousands of dollars or anything like that. You can get involved. You can make, like I said, I'm not going to say you can because I don't know your situation, but I think for most people, you can get involved and it'll be worth your time. It'll be a return on your capital, a good percentage that you would agree is worth it. But again, I can't speak for everybody. But like I said, for most people, it's that's one of the big attractions of the options market. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully this opens your eyes and answers that question and answers a couple other questions in terms of the is it worth it arena of things. If there are any other questions or suggestions for other videos, please leave those down in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video and if you'd like me to make more like this, hit that like button and then also check out the channel as a whole. Not a big fan of people that are like, hey, you've watched 10 seconds of my first video ever. Subscribe. So I'm not going to ask you to subscribe. Now, if you want to, fantastic. That's great. But I would just say, hey, check out the channel as a whole. There's lots of other videos out there. And then at that point, if you're like, yeah, I like even more videos, hey, I would love to have you subscribe at that point in time. So that is how much money you need to trade options. Not very much at all. And to me, and I think to most other people, it'll be well worth your time. First off, thanks so much for watching the entire video. Real quick, before you go, I want to invite you to a live webinar, web class, training, workshop, online event, whatever you want to call it, but it will be me live revealing to you what I've discovered that has allowed me to transform myself from being an employee to being my own boss, including how I had only one losing day out of 73 days in total. I'm going to cover 3 keys that have helped me unlock profitable consistency within the markets. The first key is super weird, but in a productive type of way. The second key is super awesome because it quite literally is wired into our DNA as humans, making it very easy to use. But in a cruel way, this becomes a pitfall for many traders. I'll explain it all though, including how to avoid the pitfall that it creates for some. And yeah, the third key, when you hear it, sounds way too good to be true, but it's not, and I'll show you how it all works. Then at the end, I open it up for a question and answer session that is, again, totally live. Even if you can't make the live session, please still sign up as it will be recorded and you can go back and watch the replay that I will send you. Click the image on the screen or click the link down in the description box so you can get the date and time and claim your spot, which I should note is limited due to the fact that this truly is a live event. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I'll be seeing you soon.